friends and fans of the podcast. Where are my buttons? Where are my gumdrop buttons? Do you dare me? I actually think I should do this, and just for the fun of it. I mean, I do 2 episodes a week, so I can waste an episode. Should I do a whole entire half-hour-long episode only doing the voice of the gingerbread man from Shrek? I mean, I'll be curious to see if I'll probably lose listeners if I do that. Hello, everybody. We just want to let you know that we're doing an episode about my gumdrop buttons. I could talk that way for a whole half hour. That doesn't hurt. Some voices might hurt. Doing that voice does not hurt. But anyways, let me just say in a regular voice, hello, friends and fans of the podcast. Welcome to another special episode of B Sharp and C. Now, this might actually just be almost like a follow-up episode or a part 2. Last episode I did, we spoke about the amazing vocals of son Susan O'Neill. Today, I want you to B Sharp and C Mick Flannery, another excellent Irish vocalist, musician, songwriter, piano player. But before I do have a backbeat from friend of the podcast, Brett, who brings up a very interesting point. Do you remember a few weeks ago we did an episode about movie music? I tried to be cool and I rhymed. I was like, movie music is groovy music. You know, expecting a huge round of applause after I say it. Sitting here alone in my studio, the only round of applause I'm going to hear is the one that I actually find and put into the mix. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should go in post-production and just put in a round of applause. I should do that after, like, everything I say. Do you remember those TV shows in the 80s and 90s where, like, someone would say something like, "Oh my goodness, you're making beef stew for dinner? I thought you were making chicken." And then, like, the audience bursts out in laughter, and it's like, yeah, that isn't funny at all, ever, in any context, ever. Since the dawn of man has that sentence ever actually brought laughter upon another human. The laugh track. It must be funny if literally hundreds of people are sitting in the audience laughing at it. But anyways, we want you to B Sharp and C Mick Flannery. But before we even get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, I want to talk about this backbeat from listener Brett. Now, Brett is a friend of the podcast and the biggest Star Wars snob north of Patagonia. He has his own Star Wars podcast. It's actually really nice. It's one of the better podcasts out there. And I might just be saying that because I know the guy. So as I sit there and listen to him and to his co-host Jeff, as I listen to them talk, I can relate to what's happening. He's from Boston. I'm from Boston. We kind of, I mean, we didn't really grow up together, but I met him like in my early 20s. So when you meet a guy at 20 and you reach 45, I don't know. You've known him for a big portion of your life. He's a really funny guy. He's got his own podcast, and recently I made an opinion on his podcast. And I don't know what his problem is. He said, "Hey, what do you guys think of the Han Solo movie?" I said it should have been Chris Pratt. I would have liked to see Chris Pratt as Han Solo. Is that so wrong of me? I actually would have also liked to see Chris Pratt do a new Indiana Jones movie. I'm going to get hanged for this, but I don't know. That is just my opinion. But he took it upon himself and his co-host. Actually, Jeff had signed off at that point. It was a female co-host. I don't remember her name. I think it was Penelope. They just went on and on talking about me, laughing at me. "Oh, Artie's such an idiot." Okay. So, anyways, but I will not sink to that level. I like to actually raise up and praise the contributors of the podcast. So Brett, even though he doesn't deserve it, will receive accolades for today's backbeat. I'm amazed, actually. So I did an episode a couple weeks ago about movie music, and he writes in and he says, hey, did you ever check this out? And he sends me a link, and it's about the technique that Hans Zimmer uses in movies and other people, but mostly Hans Zimmer, where you create almost like a never-ending loop of tension. You have, like in the high register, you have notes increasing, and in the low register, they only come in near the end of the loop. But as they're coming in, the middle register of notes, like let's just say we're doing octaves. So we have a high C, a middle C, and a low C, right? So, but they like slowly are increasing in unison up the scale, increasing and causing some type of tension. While that's happening, because the low register is coming in as the high register is leaving, and the middle register is the loudest when the low is coming in and the high is leaving, so it's kind of like this weird loop. And when you do loop it, it actually is like this never-ending sensation of intensity or tension. And he sent me this video, and this is a great backbeat, and I'll tell you why. It's a great backbeat because movie composers or film composers need to sometimes focus also on just being a sound engineer. What kind of sounds can I make for this movie? So yes, they focus on music, but they also need to at times focus on just the background sounds. What is happening as this person's being chased, or what is happening as this airplane is chasing the other airplane through the sky, like in the movie Dunkirk. Hats off to you, Brett. It's actually a very good backbeat. So thank you for that. But meat and potatoes, it's time to get into the meat and potatoes of today's artist. He is Irish-born singer, songwriter, winner of Nashville songwriting competitions more than once, platinum artist, Mick Flannery. Now, I can say he has all these awards and titles. Honestly, he's a singer and a songwriter who puts music first in this image-first age we live in. That is the Artie Astor seal of approval. When you put music first in an image-first society, you do it because you love the art. Mick Flannery loves the art. We need to be sharp and see what he's doing. He was the first Irish songwriter to win the Nashville songwriting competition, by the way. I just know that information. This information it's just like osmosis. I just sit here in my studio and information just seeps into my body. No, honestly, I do a lot of research. Oh, by the way, there's been some criticism, not of me personally just yet, although I'm sure that's coming, probably by Brett and his co-hosts. But no, there's been criticism of people who do informative podcasts. And I think this criticism is actually kind of nice, because what it does is it forces us to shut you up. No, but seriously, a lot of people criticize informative podcasts, and they say, I don't like podcasts like this because all you do is go to Wikipedia and you just regurgitate back to us the information that you're reading online. First of all, very few podcasters only go to Wikipedia. I will pull up Wikipedia. I will pull up other resources. A lot of times it's actual interviews with the artists themselves, so I get the word right out of the artist's mouth. About 99.9999999% of artists have a website. Yes, would you believe in 2021 an artist has their own website? Wow, such forward-thinking people. But yeah, most artists have their own website, so I go to their own website and I read the information that either they or their managers put out to the public. Wow, novel idea. And also, interviews. I love going and literally watching, especially if the artist is older. So if the artist is like in their 50s or 60s or 70s now, I like going back. I love watching old interviews of some of these big stars when they were like 22. I love watching, I'll give you a great example, David Gilmour. I mean, he was interviewed really a lot when he was introduced into Pink Floyd, and he was asked, do you think you're better than Syd Barrett? And his answer was actually very honest, and I agree with his answer. He's like, mechanically, yeah, I'm better. But when it comes to inventing stuff, being innovative and creative on the guitar, no. He was better. But unfortunately, we all know what happened to Syd Barrett. So, yeah, I just want to say, oh, by the way, this is just a little something like an extra part of the argument, right? Most podcasters will not just go to Wikipedia and get the information. They actually do a lot of research. But I literally have had people tell me, I appreciate you doing this research so I don't have to go to Wikipedia. So it's almost like if I were to only go to Wikipedia and then just regurgitate the information, but in an interesting way, it's almost like that would be enough, because a lot of people actually don't want to go to Wikipedia and do the reading for themselves. Let's just face it, we're all busy. This isn't the 50s. Remember the 50s? Well, me neither. I was born in 76. But I've watched movies and I've watched documentaries, and I know people who lived in the 50s. People had time. Now you have both parents that are working just as hard and still raising the kids, and a lot of pressure is on parents. The mother takes a gigantic brunt of the load because she's expected to be mothering and nurturing and work full time, and the husband too. You know, if you're a good husband and you're doing your part, both parents are doing a crap ton of work. No one has time. And when you do have time, and this is important, okay? When you do have time, maybe it's an hour and a half before you go to bed, you just want to lay down and veg. And I think that's one of the reasons why podcasts are just becoming more and more popular. People can sit down, take a load off, crack open that beer, and listen to a podcast. I almost do all of my learning right now by listening to certain types of podcasts that are educational or informational in nature. Granted, I don't use Wikipedia. I will pull up many different resources when I do my research for an episode. But even if I were to get information from Wikipedia and then present it in an interesting way, even that is something that a lot of listeners appreciate. But most podcasters know better than to just go to Wikipedia. Heck, Wikipedia, I'm actually an editor on Wikipedia. I'm actually able to go in and edit articles. I have an account. I've never done it, but I signed up for an account because I was going to go in and fix something that I read on someone's Wikipedia page that I thought was incorrect, and then I realized I just really didn't care that much, so I didn't do it. But getting back to Mick Flannery, we need to be sharp and see Mick Flannery. Now, before he got into music, the family, or his family, got behind his mother, who is a musician in her own right and has even released an album. And it was her side of the family that encouraged him. They encouraged him. And I hate to say it as though it's like something that's, obvious, or maybe it's something that we tend to take for granted, but they encouraged him. It's a shame when you are young, or even a young adult, and you're trying to learn music, or you're trying to do something creative, and members of your own family criticize you, laugh at you, dismiss you, or kind of say, he or she doesn't really have what it takes, or look at what he's doing. That's nice. But Mick's family encouraged him. His mother's family, his mother's side of the family encouraged him. That's actually very important. And I say that because we all have that niece or nephew or whoever it may be in our family who starts learning an instrument. And sometimes people start when they're young and then give it up and then start again. I think encouraging someone in this type of creative endeavor is the right thing to do. Now, why should we be sharp and see this guy from Ireland, Mick Flannery? Well, listen to what he once said, and I quote, "What happens to a person sometimes is that they attach self-worth to their career. And once the career fails, then self-worth also plummets. The more weight you put into this persona that you're trying to be, you just set yourself up for a bigger fall. It's the danger of having big ambitions that are based on the external rather than the internal." Why did I read that quote? Because here you have a man who, he didn't just dive into music and took the world on fire. You know, he has a love for hard work and introspective thinking, and he takes that approach to music. This man writes songs and sings about life, internal struggles, making a living. And now he's got a couple of decades under his belt. And he's looking forward to using that maturity for his music. And he does. Honestly, in my opinion, because I've listened to some of his earlier stuff, I think he was using maturity in his music right from the beginning. But now he uses experience, which just strengthens your maturity. When you can be a mature person at 17, but you're not experienced. Now 35 rolls along, and if you're still trying to be mature, now you have that maturity, and it's fortified by experience. Now, he has a very poetic and honest approach to his music, and he had that right from his first album. In fact, his piano playing and his approach to lyrics will remind many people of a young Fiona Apple. Listen to the song "Creak in the Door" from his first album. Now, you know, I didn't sit down and like, oh, is he actually playing a 9 chord or is he actually adding a 6th? But he kind of plays, at least in this album, he plays that soft piano style that just kind of favors the singing. It's so slow and soft that you can identify every chord. And sometimes it's just, and I don't have the ear for it. I know someone who can play a chord and they'll be like, wow, the flat fifth, that's amazing. I am not that. I mean, I can be, but usually I'm not. But you can tell he just really focuses on like the emphasis of the notes, the listener really hearing the chord, but then his vocals come over it, right? So it's like this really beautiful piano sound, nice voicings, but really nice vocals. So yeah, the piano style a little bit reminds me of Fiona Apple from the 90s, but it's also his own style. Like the song Gracie's Waltz. Nice song. It has like a sad, sullen feel, but mystical at the same time. The piano's really nice in the song. He does a great job with the piano. There's some fiddle in this song. And throughout the song, the fiddle and the piano just kind of dance wonderfully in and out of each other. And I love how this song is only 2 minutes and 35 seconds. I do. And there's no real chorus, by the way. I mean, yeah, if you want to break it down, you can say this part here repeats. This is the chorus. But he has a guest singer, and he sings a verse. She sings a verse, and they sing a verse together, and the piano and fiddle just end up, you know, taking the song to its resting place, and the song ends. It's really nice. So he has like that storytelling approach to music, and you get the idea that some of the stuff he's singing about is made up, which is actually very common in that old American or that old Americana, dark country, that old country style. A lot of lyrics are just kind of invented. They mean something, but the inspiration for the song, everything is kind of put into made-up characters or some kind of make-believe scenario. So the feeling is there, and the listener understands the feeling, but the characters, the actual persona of the song is made up. It's make-believe. And isn't that just, I mean, that's what storytelling is. Sometimes people tell stories and they're fantastic in nature. They're hard to believe, right? They're amazing. They're incredible. Why? Well, because those are the stories that actually grip our attention. He's got a song called The Tender, where he does a Fiona Apple type of thing, right? He changes tempo for the chorus, and it's a nice feel, especially because the song starts off a little faster than the other songs on the album, but the chorus is just nice. It's slow and nice, so the song kind of gets slow for the chorus, and what's weird is the song just ends on the chorus. It ends very abruptly, but it's a nice surprise ending, and it really goes to show that when Mick sits down to write a song, he's not saying, how can I create a song that people will identify with, or, let me see if I can word this correctly. He doesn't sit down on the piano and say, what cookie cutter design that already exists? What song style can I use in this song I'm about to write? He doesn't do that. He does use music writing techniques. Every songwriter does. They'll be lying if they said they didn't. He almost like approaches it and says, how can I make this different? How can I make this still creative, musical, but mix? I want to make it mix. I want to make it mine. I want to make it different. And just ending abruptly at the end of a chorus is definitely a nice touch. It's something that not a lot of people do. Being creative in how they end the song. It's really nice attention to detail. Now, the song Evening Train is something nice. It's just piano and vocals. The lyrics are deep and simple at the same time, which is a great talent in songwriting. Nothing crazy. No need to get a thesaurus or go Googling what the words mean. So the words are simple, but the meaning of the words, the message, is deeper than the Pacific, baby. Don't let the soft piano and smooth voice make you think the message is also soft and smooth. There's enough deep stuff here. Pain, confusion, fleeting happiness, and hope all wrapped up into one little package. He very much approaches this music with vocal melody, lyric first approach, which makes sense. It's the kind of music he listened to when he was younger. Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell, they are a sing lyric approach, voice lyric approach. The instrument is there, and it's a good instrument, and it's played very well, but I have a message. Okay? Tomorrow's Paper is another song. It picks up the pace a little bit, and it begins to show Mick's voice is stretching out. Now, the reason why I'm just kind of going over some of these older songs is because if you really chronicle his songs from the beginning, you're going to see that he didn't have a gigantic range vocally in the beginning. Beautiful songwriting, beautiful piano playing. As time went by, it's almost like he got more courageous with his songwriting, and he was definitely more comfortable with his vocals. And all of a sudden, he explodes. And I think that the song Tomorrow's Paper is almost like a demarcation point. It's at the point where he's saying, oh, I actually am endowed with a very nice voice and a good range. And he begins to show it in this song, Wish You Well. Come on. He's finding his place. He's getting comfortable with his talents. And now he's adding grit to that smooth voice. And the songwriting is just amazing. This song comes across bluesy. There's a nice gritty guitar solo in the song and everything. Now we hear the song, What Do You See? And you begin to think to yourself, did we just change genres? Is this all of a sudden dark country? And he touches on that genre, and he really kills it, man. It's weird. It's weird when you watch someone grow. And I'm not saying I've been listening to him since he started. I just discovered him just recently. But I've gone to his earlier stuff, and I just listened to it from beginning to current. It's weird. You see him grow, and you see him finding certain things that just sound nice. And some of these songs, like the song What Do You See? I'm like, oh my goodness. Blue Saraceno should use this guy for vocals for some of that dark country stuff. He just nails it, man. When he does it, it just adds so much emotion. But it's not just emotion, because emotion can be anything. You know, someone gets you upset, and you're like, I'm gonna punch you in the face. Like, you know, this is that weird complicated, but yet sad, but yet angry, but yet you're in control, but yet you're not type of voice. It's really hard to explain. Mick Flannery can really, his voice can almost be a chameleon. I really believe the sky's the limit for this guy. He's got so many places he can fit with his voice alone. I'm not even talking about his songwriting. I'm not even talking about his piano playing. But as he goes on throughout his career and as he finds his voice and then perfects it, you realize, yeah, you can pretty much do anything. You know, his voice is that nice. My wife heard him sing a song with Susan O'Neill, and she was like, oh my God. She was almost more impressed with his voice. I was impressed with Susan's voice, and she's like, that guy can really sing. So together, I did an episode. My last episode was about Susan O'Neill, and I really believe, and I know that it just sounds like I'm being overly sensational, but why not? Why not be? I mean, that's why they're doing it. They have a talent, they have a gift, and they want to reach people. If they reach me, and if they reach you, and we begin to believe that wow, they're going to take the world by storm, they're going to be really big, that's a good thing. That means that they can reach people's hearts with just opening their mouth and manipulating airwaves, right? And creating music, sitting down at the piano or sitting at the guitar and just creating something, and then having that idea that 2 hours ago didn't exist but now can bring tears to somebody's eyes. If that's not magic, I don't know what is. So now I want to jump to today. I already kind of jumped the gun, I guess, because today's work. He's working with someone that I really like. But I want to jump to today, or at least to 2019. He releases a self-titled album, and it's been a fun journey watching him grow over the years, listening to how he's changed. But now his music has more depth, not lyrical depth. He's always written with meaning in his message. I'm talking musical depth. His piano playing's more dynamic. The arrangements have more instrumentation and production in them. Listen to the song Wasteland. It has that style where the chords follow a descending pattern in a minor scale. I believe it's like C minor and then B flat, A flat, G minor type of thing, almost like the what's that song by the Stray Cat Strut, right? Boom, 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 boom. It has like that descending feel to it. In fact, it's not even a descending feel; it's literally chords descending in the scale, and it's just nice. And you can tell he sits at the piano and works hard at his songwriting. Why not write a song like this? And I want to get a little introspective here. What I think contributes to his music is the fact that he looks at his music and his life and kind of views them as one. Now, I have never spoken to the man, so I don't know if this is true. This is the strong impression that I get by listening to his music and by watching some of the things I've seen on YouTube regarding him. He's more mature now, and just automatically equates his more mature outtake on life as his more mature outtake on music. He doesn't seem to separate his musical growth from his emotional growth and perspective on life. So you have a guy who kind of like, his music is him. He is his music. It's not just something he does. Even in the beginning of his career, he was like, well, I like stone masonry work a lot. And there are times I still do it because I enjoy it. So his music is a fiber in what is Mick Flannery. It is not what Mick Flannery does. It is what he is. It's part of the package. And it's nice to see. And as you're watching him, you're watching part of him as he sits there and plays the piano. It's not just a parlor trick. And that exists. The parlor trick approach to music is a thing. I've been at parties, right? And there's a piano in the room. And, oh, Beth, don't you play piano? Go play something. And then Beth sits down and plays something she learned as a teenager. Everyone claps. Beth gets up and walks away, all shy. And then everyone starts saying, who else knows how to play something? I'm not saying that's bad, but that's the parlor trick approach to music. It's the difference between me pulling a coin out of young Davy's ear. What's that in your ear? Oh my God, it's a quarter. Here. Right? It's the difference between that and Penn and Teller catching bullets in your mouth. They live their craft, and you see it. They live what they do. Mick Flannery lives what he does. His music, his words, his ideas, his desire even to lay stonemasonry. All of it is the Mick Flannery you get. It's not a parlor trick. This is who he is. And now, why do I say that? I mean, you're probably thinking, come on, Artie, you're being corny. This is what all musicians are like. No. The parlor trick approach to music has made itself onto the radio. Trust me. You hear people on the radio, platinum artists, and their music to them is just something that they do. And some of it's nice. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, oh my God, I'm going to change this station. I can't listen to this artist. They approach music as like a parlor trick. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not being corny or, and I'm not being unreasonable, because I like music of all sorts. Heck, I really do. I've listened to some songs and I'm like, wow, that's really nice. And then I heard the singer become interviewed and he's like, yeah, I hate that song. I don't even want to play it live. I wrote like half of it, but then so-and-so wrote the rest. Yeah, never was in my heart. But it's a song that I find to be completely moving. So I'm not saying the parlor trick approach to music is bad. What I'm saying is it's not Mick Flannery. You're getting a guy who's just dumping out his heart and soul onto the piano and onto the lyric sheet. And if that's what you like, you're going to get it every time. Every time. And I went to his wiki page, and I love when it it says for occupation, it says singer, songwriter, and stonemason. Yeah, it actually still says, and now I'm curious, Mick, if you're listening to this episode, and I get the impression maybe you will listen to it, please tell me somehow, in 2021, are you still doing stonemasonry? I would love to know. I would love to see some of your work too. I have a brother-in-law that does stonemasonry, and it's hard work. And I'm talking hard work, but it's also very rewarding when you see the final product. And I don't know someone who does stonemasonry who doesn't take pictures of the work when they're done. Everyone I know that does stonemasonry takes pictures of like the stone wall or the driveway or whatever it is, or the pool, not the pool, but those little ponds that people put in their yard, and they put fish in there. It's like an outdoor koi pond. I don't know what the heck they're called. But that's stonework too, right? And I don't know one stonemason who doesn't take pictures of their work when it's done. And you have to take pictures of the work as soon as it's done. If you show up 2 weeks later and start taking pictures of the person's of someone's yard, you're probably going to end up in jail. You got a peeping Tom outside. But no, seriously, I would love to know if you still do stonemasonry work. But all that being said, I just need to say, listen to Mick Flannery and keep an eye out. He's working on stuff with Susan O'Neill. And I love Susan O'Neill's talent and her voice and her songwriting. I love Mick Flannery's talent in his voice and his songwriting. And they both have natural gifts that they worked hard to perfect and to hone. You know, they have skills that they worked on honing. I don't know what their plans are for the long term. I know that they have something that's going to get released September of this year, so stay tuned. I remember the 80s. Of course, I mean, I was born in 76, but I remember listening to Fleetwood Mac. I remember listening to other bands that had male and female vocalists together. That type of harmonizing, that type of songwriting, that approach to music is, I mean, I can't think of too many artists today that do it. In fact, you know what? I'm going to put that on Instagram, and then it'll end up being a backbeat. I'll put that on Instagram. What bands that have both a female and male vocalist, what bands do you like who have one of each? I think that would be an interesting question. But anyways, this has been a very long episode, and I do thank you all for listening. So follow us on Instagram and Facebook under B Sharp and C. Hit us up on email, keepitgroovybaby @gmail.com. Try not to stare at the sun for more than 5 hours at a time, and baby penguins are the cutest babies in the animal kingdom. Until next time, this is your host, Artie Astor, saying to you, keep it groovy.